Hi there everyone, thanks for joining me. My name is Damien Bird and today I'm going to do a demonstration using Microsoft Forms, Word, SharePoint document libraries and Power Automate. So my aim today is to do a demonstration where I build a solution that will convert the responses from a Microsoft form into a PDF file, and I'm going to do that without using premium actions within Power Automate. So this is quite a unique demonstration, and I hope you enjoy and watch to the end. So you might be thinking, why would I want to do this? Well, my particular example here is for a gift certificate, but it may be a training certificate or a permanent document that you're wanting to send to someone. So this is a fully automated solution. The customer or the end user can complete this Microsoft form, and the outcome of that is a PDF file that's dynamically completed based on the answers you give during that form submission. And of course that's a read-only file and completely without premium actions. So let's jump into the demonstration. So here I have just a sample gift certificate that I've downloaded off of the Microsoft site. It's a template document, template Word document that has several fields that are available for completing before you fill out. So today we're going to add in some dynamic content into this Word document that we extract from our Microsoft form submission. So if we move on to my Microsoft form here, I've already built the form. I'm assuming that you're all familiar with doing that. But just to demonstrate, I have the first question here, which is the personal message, which is a choice question. Choose one of these answers here. And then for all my other answers, I've got free text. So the message, personal message continued, who this lovely gift certificate is from, and an email address, because I'm going to email the PDF file to myself afterwards, just for the demonstration. So here comes the clever bit with the SharePoint document library. I've already completed some of the work that's required, but in order for me to pass the metadata onto the document, I need to create columns, and it's these columns here that will create the metadata values on the Word document template and allow me to pull that information across into the template later on in the demonstration. So I've created 3 of these fields already, and I'm just going to quickly add in the last one here, which is the email field. That will then allow me to send that PDF file off to who I've chosen during that form submission. So that's me completed that bit on SharePoint, sorry, and I'm just going to bring across my document template, which is just the original file that I've downloaded off of the Microsoft template site, but this could be any Word document file that you've created as a template. So now that I've brought that across, it will have inherited these 4 new metadata or column fields, and the aim now is to go ahead and edit this document. Now, in order to use this functionality, I need to open it up in the desktop app. So we'll launch the desktop app here, and I'm just going to discard the changes because I was practicing earlier to make sure this worked. So we've got the original document here. None of the dynamic content is saved to this file. I'm going to delete the default text that's in the template, and I'm actually going to make the default recipient myself because it's going to be my birthday soon, so let's send me some gift certificates. So the feature we need to use now is the quick parts, and you'll notice I've moved on to the Insert tab here, and here we have the quick parts section of Microsoft Word. So we're looking to use the document property part of Microsoft Word, and you'll see here that I've got my personal message continued, and it's these dynamic fields that I'm going to use. This is going to pull across the metadata from this document. So first of all, I'll put in my personal message, then I'm going to put in my personal message continued, and then finally I'm going to put in my from metadata value. There we go. So that's my document all set up. I'm just waiting for it to save, and then we can go ahead with closing it and moving on to the next stage. Okay, so let's now move on to building our flow. So the first thing I need to do is pick my trigger, and the trigger is based on when a new response is submitted on my Microsoft form. I need to pick my form name, which is my birthday gift certificate, and the next action that goes hand in hand with this particular one is to get the response details. So I pick the get response details, the same form again, and the response ID is based on the ID from the trigger. So now what I want to do is I want to get the file content of that template file that we have on our SharePoint document library. So I'll select my SharePoint site and I will navigate to that file that we created earlier, my gift certificate file. And what that really means is that I'm getting the content of that file, and I'm ensuring that I am not overwriting that file, because ultimately it is my template. So my next action, I'm going to use a compose, and the purpose of that is just to very quickly create a unique string, and I'm going to do that using format date time on UTC now, and I'm then just going to use the date format of year, month, day, hours, minutes, seconds. And that's really just trying to prevent any duplicate file names. We're going to use this in the file name going forward. So our next action is the create file. So now that we've got the content of our template file, we're going to create a copy of that file. And as before, we pick the same folder structure or document library, and this is where we use that compose to create our dynamic file name. I'm going to stick the word certificate at the end of it and the all-important file extension. If you forget that 4-letter file extension, SharePoint won't know how to open that file later on. Now we're just going to use the file content from the get file content action we had earlier, and now we've created a file with that dynamic name and the file content of the get file content action. Moving on to the next step, we're now going to update the file properties, and the purpose of that is to update those metadata values, those columns that we've created in our document library. So once I've selected my library, you will see these columns appear here as fields allowing me to supply dynamic content. Excuse me. So here I have ID looking for a dynamic value, and we're going to use the item ID that we've grabbed from the create file. Now when it comes to these 4 columns we've got here, the personal message continued from an email, we're going to search for them in the dynamic content here, and we're going to use those values that we get back from our form response. And here's our continued message. If I quickly search for from, and whilst I've created a column for email, it's not required, but I'm gonna add it in anyway, just for the demo. So now that we've updated that file properties, we need to go and get the file content again of that original create file. And the reason is we've updated that file now to include these new values as metadata, and we need to recapture those changes that have been made to that file. So as before, we'll do the file identifier, and we will have to use that ID of the create file. There we go. So we've created a file, we've updated those file properties, and then we have recaptured the file content of that updated file that we created. So now we've done all that, we need to move across onto OneDrive. And the reason for that is that OneDrive supports the file conversion from Word document to PDF. So we're going to select a folder path here. I have actually created myself a folder called temp, and I just use that for all the sort of working documents as part of these cloud flows that I've built. The file name, we can again use that dynamic value that we have up here from our compose. Just trying to grab it here. Let me just scroll down and grab it manually. Outputs, that's what it's called. There we go. So outputs, I'll stick certificate on the end of it again, and it needs the file extension for docx. And the file content is going to be based on this file content too. So here we are, the dynamic value file content. So that's us created a file now on OneDrive. So the next thing we need to do is we need to convert that to PDF. So we use the convert file action, currently in preview, and if we select that file based on dynamic content, so it's create file 2, we're using the file ID we've got here, or the ID we've got here for create file, and it's automatically defaulted to the PDF file type. So that will now create a new file and then convert that Word document into a PDF document. Now we could add in a stage here to delete that file, but I'm going to leave that to you to investigate yourselves. The sort of last step I'm going to do here with regards to creating files is to create a copy of this on SharePoint. That's just a personal thing, it's the way I've been taught. OneDrive is really for your personal documents. I like to have a copy of my business documents back onto SharePoint, so I'm going to go back to my original document library. I'm going to use that compose action that we had before. I'm going to use the certificate name there, and this time remember it's not a Word document, it's a PDF. And we're just going to go and grab the file content there from the convert file, and that's us now got a copy of that PDF file back onto SharePoint should we need it in the future. And then my last step for this process, I did say that we would email this copy of the PDF out to the user whose email address is specified in the form. So I'm going to use the add dynamic content. I'm going to search for email, and we have here the email field of the answer. So email address of the recipient, which is the answer of the question. There we go. Subject, I'm going to make it certificate. If I can spell it correctly. Still can't spell it correctly. And we'll just put in a little body here, say here is your certificate. And then the last part of this action is to include a file name, which is not as important to be unique at this point because it's now attached to the email. And the file content is based on this convert file. So we'll go back to scrolling through here. We can see the convert file. We'll get the file content, and now that that's all finished, we'll hit the save button and give it a go. So we'll put it into test mode. We'll choose the manual option here, and that'll allow us to just follow that flow through when it kicks off. So we'll jump across onto this form now, and we'll complete it. Let's go into the preview mode. There we go. So a night out with the better half is the birthday gift certificate I'm getting. Enjoy your meal out. Here is some money. It's going to be for my mum and dad, who are going to look after my kids, to allow myself and my wife to have a much deserved night out. We'll choose test email that I've got here in order to receive this certificate. I'll hit the submit button, and if we jump back onto our flow, we can see the flow is now triggered. So it's moving on pretty quickly. We're creating a copy of that template. We're moving on to update the file properties and then getting that content of the new file with those new the new file properties, creating a copy on the OneDrive, converting it to PDF, creating a copy back on SharePoint for my purposes. I like to have a copy on SharePoint, and then sending an email to that email address that I've supplied in the form. So if I jump across into my email, we can see that our email has been sent and received. We've got the certificate, and it's completed. A night out with a better half. Enjoy your meal out. Here is some money. It's to DemoBird 365, which is applied first off, and it's from my mum and dad. And if we jump back onto my document library here, you can see that the original Word document that gets saved back, the one that we take a copy of this template, that the metadata is saved into the columns, and it's with that metadata that we've populated this Word document and then saved that file content back to the PDF. So that's really the end of the demonstration. So I hope you followed that okay. If you want to read more about it, it's on my blog at demobird365.birdhoose.co.uk. But you can also find the links in the description of the video here. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again sometime. Thanks a lot for watching. Cheers. Bye.